trying to tell if you can see like the edge of my desk or not. My camera got moved a little bit while I was doing some things. So let's adjust this. Bring it up here. All right, now we're centered up. And it's not too loud, so I'm going to cut the noise canceling on the audio. I guess let me know if it gets noisy. Okay, I'm not going to talk a whole lot on this one. I really just want to get down to it and start drawing. Alright, this is a new Paper Republic. I ended up getting an XL. It's the one size that I didn't have already. Also in cognac, so it matches the rest of mine. I have an A5, an A4, a pocket, all in cognac, and then I also have an olive green. And then today I'm going to draw with a Colotino hand-mixed Italian acetate special edition pen. And this one, it's a little different because I have a different refill in here than what they sell with them, but it's a D1 refill. And this is the Mangrand gel. So it's got a definitive line, more like a G2 gel or even a fountain pen. But for the current project that I'm on, I'm doing a commission for a customer making a kid's book. And they want something kind of in a Maurice Sendak style. So, anyway. So I've already done a little bit. I'm going to kind of recreate some of these, but this project is kind of sprawling. It's for a client who's doing a book for a family member, so I've been drawing in various styles trying to chase that. Let's see, let me do a little house cleaning, remove the trash. There we go. All right. Same as usual with all of my books, I draw on the Paper Republic drawing book. It's 150 GSM paper. Hi to everyone. Once I start drawing, I will not be able to see your comments unless I go back and check. So just so you know, I'm not ignoring anyone. I just gotta focus on the work here. All right, looks like I properly chased everyone out, so away we go. Let's see. I'm going to adjust my reference photo just a touch. There we go. Start up here with this crown. This is really just kind of like a cover song. I'm just trying to get the feel of drawing in a more simple style since I tend to draw in photorealism. But this client reference Maurice Sendak, so like we all probably know him whether you know it or not. He did Where the Wild Things Are. And great many other things. He also did some Hobbit drawings that I just found. Skip over on this side and draw an outside line. Honestly, I would prefer to draw this with a smaller pen refill, but I'm intentionally drawing with something that's not comfortable for me to try and force a little bit of a simple line. I usually would do a warm-up drawing, but I didn't, so I'm going to call this one the warm-up, which is a small comfort because I'm already not liking certain elements of this, but that's kind of the exercise, is to draw outside of my comfort zone. Actually, there's a deeper line here. It's all right. Maurice Sendak stuff is really definitive, so even though it's loose, it's not sketchy. Which I have to get out of the habit of sketching because I typically would rough sketch instead of doing definitive lines first. But this is as much a study in his style as it is forcing myself out of my comfort zone. I might need to get a new refill for my pen. I have been using it a lot lately. Hi, how's it going? I mentioned earlier I only check the comments every once in a while, and I don't have a moderator. So if you got your audio on, I'm saying hello, but can't consistently do that while I'm drawing. I think another pen that would be good for definitive drawing with gel would be the Paper Republic with Stylo, which I do have. It's a longer body though. I am drawing Maurice Sendak characters. This one is Max from Where the Wild Things Are. Oh, thanks. This is Colotino. It's a hand-mixed Italian acetate pen. It's a triangular grip and Migrin gel refill. All right. Yeah, if you like these pens, you can get them in New York, LA, Chicago, Boston, San Francisco, or online at topdrawershop.com, or I think maybe on the Colo website, but you're basically buying from the same company there at topdrawershop.com. This one is called Dune. I don't do digital drawing. I only draw on paper, typically with pencil. Um, I don't really want to draw with an undo button. I would rather mess up. No judgment for anyone who does draw digitally. It just doesn't suit me. Let's see, you said, do I draw in all of my videos? Not all of them, but most of them. I tend to do, if you look through my live archive or my shorts, you'll see mostly what I do, which is photorealistic pencil portraits. But I mentioned earlier, I'm drawing this because I got commissioned to illustrate a kid's book. And one of the main references they brought up was Maurice Sendak's style. So, much like how when musicians like a certain type of music, they'll do cover songs of an artist they like, essentially just kind of getting a feel for how he draws, simply. Am I a pro? I mean, I draw for money, so I don't know, it's kind of like what I used to tell people when I was a career musician. They asked if I was successful, and I would say success was a varying definition. Successful enough that I paid my bills with it, but not famous, if that makes sense. I do have a day job, but my day job is actually selling all the stuff you're seeing, like this pen, this drawing paper, things like that. And then I'm an ambassador for this journal company and Blackwing Pencils. So something that might be fun that just occurred to me. Do artists usually get a lot of money? No, not really. You typically don't get much at all. It just depends on how frequently you draw for money, whether it's commissions for large projects or if you can monetize a channel or anything like that. If you ever illustrate a book, the best thing to do is ask for what's called points, which means if the book goes into publication, every copy that sells, you make a percentage. Otherwise, you are drawing on what's called a work for hire, which means you get paid once and one time only. So the goal for a lot of this stuff is essentially to get points on books. However, this one is more of a personal project, so I don't know that the author really wants it to go into publication. I think it's more of like a family gift. But I liked the idea, and I really liked the person that hired me. And so I wanted to do the project for that reason. But in my experience, like even some of the best artists that I know or that I've talked with, most of them are all trying to figure out how to make money. And typically, like gallery artists, their art is not usually a reflection of their talent or skill. It's more of like they have really good PR and marketing. Like that's why you see something that looks like a toddler did it selling for $20,000 or $30,000. It's all kind of a farce. But in like the gallery world, they rarely appreciate skill. They want someone who can make up a story about what makes their art special. Which I've been sorely tempted to just fake that. Like, ooh, yeah, this is meant to evoke blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Every gallery I've contacted so far for larger portion or larger sales, they all kind of want like a mission statement of what makes your art special, which is kind of funny to me because it's a visual medium. So it's like, why don't you take a look at it and tell me? If you want to sell your art, if you're selling original pieces, there's a website called Saatchi. If you Google that, honestly couldn't tell you the spelling, but if you Google Saatchi, you can sell one of ones on there, meaning like you make it, you sell that piece. And then there's a bunch of like print on demand sites where you can sell prints. The best way to start is just Google it and figure it out. And then wherever you live, look for local markets where you can sell originals or prints, and then become a vendor at a market. I think the best advice I could give for anything like that is keep your day job until it's a pain to do both. Like if you're selling so much art that your day job is a burden, then it's probably time to go into art full time. I don't necessarily love the pressure of that, and I was a career musician for 20 years, so I prefer to have a day job and do this in my downtime. Not to sound discouraging, but that's just like the reality of art. A lot of people, like I've taken meetings where people actively suggest using AI art creation over paying a human while I'm sitting there trying to convince them to pay me. So there's kind of like an imbalance in art appreciation in the world over. I can see my pen is starting to skip a little bit, so I either need to swap pens or refills. Not loving how this one's looking, but again, it's a nice warm-up drawing. What if I don't want to go outside and sell? I answered that already. Then you need to sell on Saatchi or sell print on demand. You could Google that and just see like whatever has the best reviews in your region. But the most successful artists in terms of that type of stuff, they just research and try everything they can. Yeah, happy to help. Hopefully none of that sounds discouraging. But just kind of being like honest about it. The best way is to just create stuff and try it out and see what works best for you. Because even with like Saatchi as an example, there's a guy that comes into the store that I work in, and he always tells me I need to sell on there, and then says that he makes a lot of money on it. And then I look at what he makes, and it's like children's drawings. Like not for children, like looks like they're by children. So it's just about finding like a crowd that identifies with the art that you make. Let's see. Okay, cool. Thanks for lurking. It's an interesting way that Maurice Sendak textured these because it's almost like stippling where he stops hatching. But they have more of a vertical line than a dot to them. But I can tell he used a much finer pen. Let's see, drawing and joining live drawing streams like peak, LOL, so okay. Hi, how's it going? I don't know that I understand that comment, but maybe because I'm old. Older, young old. I am curious. So I'm not done hatching, but I'm going to try something here. I appreciate that. So I have these like pins. I've never really messed around with them, but I did buy them specifically for this project. Let's just add a little bit of color here. Yeah. It's literally the exact same color as the reference. And typically I would do this with watercolor, but I wanted to have a capped pen I could carry around. Oh, let's see, it says, just meant I'm drawing while watching a drawing stream and it keeps my focus that way. Nice, thank you. Yeah, if you're into it, I live stream throughout the week. If I have days off, I typically go live once or twice a day, and then usually mornings before I go into work, I'll live stream. I typically do pencil portraits, but I'm trying to force myself to draw on a different style for this project I'm on. This next one's kind of a pale pink. Don't exactly have this color, but I think it's going to be the closest to it that I've got without getting out my watercolor stuff. So yeah, hopefully that advice helped you out. If you jump back in the future, keep me updated on how your sales go. Yeah, I'm just going to keep hatching here. It's a little bright, but that's all right. I'm going to hatch some more on this to make it a little bit darker. Oh, nice, yeah. I actually do animation as well. If you go into my playlist, there's an animation playlist from all the music videos and promo video that I used to do. It's like a 2D capture retro sort of Terry Gilliam style that I do. Alright. Yeah, this one, it's not my finest work, but I'm just kind of powering through. It's very different from my style. Throw a deck of cards onto this other side just to prop up my page a little better. There we go. I'm going to switch over to, let's see if I even have the pen in here. Actually, I don't. Okay, that's all right. I'll finish it with this one. Not a lot of responsiveness on this pen. Almost makes me want to just hatch the rest of it. Actually, I'm going to grab that pen. I think it's in my bag here. Oh, cool. Yeah, appreciate that. So this, I'm going to keep drawing with this, but I think I need to throw a new refill in there. This is the Paper Republic G2 gel refill. It's a needle point, and it's in there with stylo, so it's an aluminum body. But I'm going to see if it feels a little better to draw with this one. Yeah, that's already more responsive. A little bit finer. Still not quite like a micron, but I hate the feel of microns or strat letters. They're too lightweight. Sorry for the noise. I'm going to adjust something so I can see my screen a little better. Maybe not. There we go. earthquake a little bit. Part of it is also my paper is not fully weighted down because I'm at the very beginning of this book, so I'm having to deal with a little page bounce. Yeah, so it's a combination of those two things. How's it going, Erica? Well, that's done enough for me. I'm kind of overdrawing that one. So that's, I think, the second time I've done that. This is from the other day. I guess it would be worth adding the color to this one as well, since I have it. It looks a little bit more sinister in this one, but these are like 5 minutes of drawing while I was at work on break. This is a lei pen. It's sort of like my way of not having to carry my watercolor kit around while I draw at work, or if I go out and draw somewhere. I like that they have kind of muted tones. Just kind of looking through some of the reference photos I have. Might do okay, so I think it's still good on ink. It probably just needs to, I need to have more pressure on the page. These are like, in all the books that I keep, there's always a warm-up page, which is essentially the very back page. So it's just like little doodles that I do. But this one, since I've been drawing in more definitive ink in this book, it is more cross-hatching. Typically you'd see me do warm-up drawings where it's like this, sort of a rough sphere. And then if our lighting source is coming from here, you have like a bald spot thereabouts. And then you can either do these with hatching, usually darker towards the bottom because that's where you have the least amount of light, it's closest to the ground. And then same here, but since this is a casted shadow, I would do probably straighter lines to fill the circle. Do that, or like if I'm drawing with a ballpoint, I would do scribble method. But it's not ideal with a gel, but I can show you. Anything that has a definitive line makes scribble a little bit harder, so setting our light sources in a relatively similar spot. And then we have our casted shadow, then you basically just cluster it. I tend to do figure eights or something close to it. And kind of round it out here. And then closest to the form, you're going to have dense lines, tighter scribbles, and less so the farther out you get. Now I can just do a hard dark line there. So it's sort of hatching versus scribble, but I may just try and do like another kind of smaller monster face here. It's not going to be exactly like his, but it's a little bit of an approximation. I might bring this down a little bit and use that line for a hatch. This is sloppy, but we'll cover it up with some cross hatching. Which pen do I use because it looks really fine? This one is not that fine. This is a Colotino. It's the hand-mixed Italian acetate special edition. That's a Mangran gel. So it's not super fine, it's just the groupings of lines that I'm doing. But right now on Amazon, these D1 gel refills are $10 for 10. And so I'm using them for definitive line drawing. Yeah, and then these you can get, this pen, you can get it in aluminum, acrylic, acetate, raw brass, or anodized aluminum, but this is the lighter weight version of it that I have, so I'm using it because I don't want it to be too heavy. Yeah, if you want to see these in particular, this pen is going to be on topdrawershop.com, Top Drawer Shop. Or if you live in like LA, San Francisco, Boston, Chicago, New York, they have the stores there. You can go pick them in person. But it's a really versatile refill. That's one of my favorites. It's called a D1 refill. His eyes are actually quite a bit smaller compared to the reference. He's got so many cross-hatched sections on this that it's kind of obvious he's using a much finer nib. And some of these don't look exactly like definitive ink, so I'm kind of making it more challenging on myself for no reason. But like this is a good example. He's split these almost 50-50, and this is all hatched. Dealing with a lot of page bounce here. looks like I just hit an hour a minute ago. I didn't even realize it. Well, I'm by no means done with these. I'm going to add quite a bit more to it, but in all reality, this is just to try and get in the habit of shifting some of the drawings I've been doing for this book into a Maurice Sendak direction. So I've got a couple pages of sort of like cover drawings, little things to reference how he draws. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll be back on either later tonight or potentially tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening, Monday and Tuesday. If you want, subscribe and you'll see me pop up doing pencil drawings and more stuff that's kind of in this similar style. If you're curious about any of the stuff that I use, if it's not linked in my bio, then you can ask me about it in the comments and I can show you what they are. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.